Logging on also.
There he is.
There's Tom.
There he is. Hey, everybody. Mike Harden logging on for the Zoom meeting for the Norwalk Parking Authority. This is a special meeting, not our normal meeting. And we'll start off here with approving the minutes. I almost said start off with the pledge because somebody's got a flag there, but does anybody have any changes, alterations, or additions to the minutes from the last meeting?
None from me.
None for me.
You guys all right with it?
Yeah.
I'm good. All right, make a motion to pass these as read.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
That was Dick Brescia and Judd Alley, and that's good. Judd, you want to talk about Judd and Eric, you guys want to talk about the recovery reopening plan?
We'll need Stathi or Rocky to share. Craig, you need to give Stathi sharing privileges.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Please. Stathi. Is Stathi here?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got all panelists with sharing privileges.
And Stathi, okay, Stathi, can you share the screen, please?
Yeah. Yep, I will. Hold on. Okay. All right, see that?
Yes.
Got it.
You can probably go to the first one, right?
Yep.
Okay.
So this is Eric. Judd and I didn't get a chance to review this prior, but I think it's worth pointing out that at this point, what we're really doing is just reporting what's actually happening against the amended budget that we established, right? So that's really what this part of the meeting is, and this shows you that compare year over year from 2019 to 2020, for each of the parking assets that we have. And so you could see how those numbers compare to each other. If you go to the next sheet this is transient activity. So if you go to the next sheet, then.
No, the one before, staff.
Oh, did I skip one?
Yep.
Oh, sorry. There you go.
Yes, on the permit activity, you could see that what the activities there is, we're not very far off of our normal numbers on that. And then the following sheet starts to talk about the enforcement and what those numbers are doing. So, in July, at the bottom line there, in July of 19, there are 197 tickets. July of 2020 so far, there's 63. So if things continue that trend, then we'll still be below 197. And then the next slide is reporting on the on how people are engaging and paying for the parking. So one interesting thing is that text to park is July 1st to July 6th, and there's already been 138 transactions for just 1 week. I personally haven't had time to go on to the text to park to see how it works, but if it's as easy as the other systems, then I would expect that number to continue to grow. And then if you look at pay by phone, that is, again, the July, all we have is up to July 6th. So we've had 1,800 uses of the pay by phone in just this these few days, compared to 3,300 for the whole month of July in 2019. So if that continues, I would think we're going to meet that number too.
Can I just say, I think July, it's the same time period, right, Stath, Rocky?
Yes, that is correct. It's the same time
Yeah,
period.
it's the same time period.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
All right.
it's the same time period. It's just showing that its activity is down compared to last year on the transient, which we showed in the first slide. We're at 43% compared to last year.
Oh, I see.
Again, yeah, so it's just for the 1 week.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, we should have made that a little more clear.
Yeah, and that's fine. That's fine. And then the online reservation is June usage was June was 30 for the whole month, and then so far in July 6th we have 21. So that looks like it might be something that's going to increase as well. So then the next slide is the courtesy card that is on hand and being used at Elizabeth Street. So you can see there 19 warnings and 5 in July today. So then the financial sheets, are they here, Stephanie?
No, we didn't do that. The financials to date, we don't have them yet.
Oh, okay. So then we'll do them at our regular meeting.
Yeah, you'll have them in the regular meeting.
Okay. So
Right.
I guess one thing that we might, at the regular meeting, the format had been in the past where we would get an update of the financial kind of information from Laz, from Stathis. And I think at the regular meeting is where, when we do that, that can fall back into that format, right?
Sure.
I mean, do Judd and I still need to, it's collecting data and reporting on the data is what we're doing.
I think what we talked about in our little subcommittee meeting was that at the regular meetings going forward, that you would want to just see the ops report and the financials.
Okay. And then,
that's what we talked about.
and then the financials will be reported by Stathis.
Correct.
Yep. Okay. So that's where we are. I know there were emails today about 4 more spaces on North Main being taken for outdoor dining.
Correct.
And that sparked some emails about the spaces on Washington. So if anybody
Both topics are here to talk about.
Pardon?
I said both topics are here to talk about.
Oh, okay. I don't have the agenda in front of me. Okay, so then we'll get to that when we get to it.
Can we please see the form back up, the stuff?
Oh, you want that? Okay.
Yeah.
Hold on.
I need to hear the words. I need the words to.
Oh, hold on, bear with me. Having a little
Hi, Darlene.
technical difficulty here. Okay. Which slide you want?
The third one, the one we were talking about earlier. Enforcement, this one. Just because we had talked about not giving any tickets unless they were safety related. Tell us a little bit about the 86 expired meter tickets and the 31 time limitation ones and the, how do we explain that to the people we've already told we weren't going to be ticketing?
Yeah, so what we had said we would do is that after that first week, we would continue to issue the courtesy cards. But if on return, after the courtesy card time limit expired, which is probably another 45 minutes after expiration, right, and they were over the limit, then they would be issued a citation. So that's what that is. Right, Rocky?
Yes, that is correct.
So there were no tickets issued unless they had a courtesy notice first.
And we agreed to that?
Yes, you did
That's
at the
the way
board
I
meeting.
recall it. Yeah, that's the way I recall it too.
And that's okay with everybody else?
Yep.
Totally fine with me.
All right.
Okay, by me. That's,
Are you still ticketing in that manner?
That's correct, Chad. We're still ticketing them in
So
that.
they get at least one courtesy card warning.
That is correct. Every ticket that was given, the people have already gotten via courtesy card first.
Okay. Is it only one? Have you given more than one on occasion?
For an individual that has gotten a warning and then a ticket, or two?
Or just, two cards, one on top of the other? I mean, each card is worth what, 20 minutes?
20 minutes, but we've been giving them a little more grace period. But I haven't tracked if there was 2 tickets per day that was given. I can track that and report that.
Yeah, I would be surprised if there was, because that wasn't really the policy that was explained to the enforcement officer.
I don't think that's
to be
happening.
consistent, I think we'd want to continue with that kind of policy. And even though and just, so we're clear too, even though the courtesy notices, refer to, 20 minutes or whatever it is, it's 99% of the time it's more than that, because there's the time period in some cases where they're already expired, and then for our POs to cover the route and return, it's usually more than the 20 minutes too. So so if they give it when a meter just expires, which they wouldn't know, because they see it as just expired or paid, by the time they come back again, it could be another 45 minutes.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I feel like I'm in the minority with this thought, but I'll just tell it to you anyway. I'm not comfortable with that. I don't think we should be giving violations in this time, but it also looks like it's really the only violation that we're giving that isn't a safety hazard. So I guess it is what it is.
I can understand the way that appears, but historically, not just here, everywhere, expired meter violations are the single largest violations that are issued in any on-street system.
Yeah. Well, clearly, I mean, last year was 1,200 for the month, and this year was only 86. Right. I get it. I just thought that for some reason I was under the impression that it wasn't going to be any, but that's fine. And again, I guess if everybody else is comfortable with it, then so am I. Okay, let's go to the next one. Any more discussion on the presentation here? Anybody else want to have anything else?
Mike, if you just look at the last 6 days, July 1 through the 6th, they gave out 5 tickets. So, if you were to follow that trend forward through the end of the month, my guess is we'd still be at, 25 to 31 tickets again.
It's not. It's 5 plus 47 in the last 6 days. It's 52.
That's
what makes me so uncomfortable. I don't like it. But again, it's not.
Okay, I see. I was looking at the wrong line there. I was looking at time limit violation.
It's okay.
Yep. Okay.
All right. On to number 3, which is the discussion about the West Washington Street grind and repaint to include new spaces for parking in there. And Catherine, I think you're going to do this, right?
Yeah, I'll just give
how
an
much it
update.
is and how long it would take and what the idea there is. Yeah.
Yeah. So at the last meeting 2 weeks ago, Judd and Eric, and we had talked about this before in our little recovery team meeting, to add additional parking spaces on West Washington, probably around 20, due to the fact that the parking authority collaborated with the business community and economic development and took 28 parking spaces out of service on Washington Street for outdoor dining and for curbside pickup. So I thought, wouldn't it be great if we could just paint those temporarily until the lot SIP project on West Washington was implemented next year? Apparently, well, actually, in talking to engineering, that is not possible because the distance between the center line and where the parking space would end is not enough room. It's not wide enough for it to be safe. You need at least 10 feet. And when you put the parking spaces in, when you paint them in relation to where the center line is now, it only gives you 7 feet, and that is not safe. So we would have to move the center line over. And so now it becomes a project. So on the good note is there's a couple things that can happen. And we do think this is a really good idea to put additional parking spaces on West Washington, but we have to comply with traffic safety, et cetera. The good news is that we are advancing the lot SIP project. We're putting together, collaborating with the Public Works Department, putting together the bid documents to go out to bid. Because it is grant funded, we do need confirmation and approval from the DOT and from WestCog. So those two things are happening at the same time. So in the perfect world, all of that would happen and the project would get advanced and bid out this fall and hopefully get installed and started by the spring and next summer. Now, if that doesn't happen, at the same time, we are also putting the bid documents together for the citywide striping contract. So if we don't get the confirmation we need from DOT or WestCog in a timely manner, then we would use that other contract to install the spaces and move the center line temporarily until the other project could happen. But it's not going to happen this year because that can't happen. That's what I have.
So what you're saying is it's just not going to happen.
Not this year, but it's one way or another, it will happen for next year. Because again, if the lot SIP is delayed because of the approval process with DOT and WestCog, we're still going to do it temporarily through our striping contract.
But the striping would be next year.
Yes, because the striping contract, we don't have that yet. We have to put it out to bid.
Yeah.
And we met with DPW today to do that.
So we have a striping contract for this year because they've been striping like crazy.
I think it's about the grinding off the center line. That's the bigger.
Oh, that's a bigger one.
So now it becomes a project, but yeah.
I mean, if
trying to move it all as fast as we can.
Yeah, if we were just painting, then we wouldn't.
Oh, if I was hoping that it was going to be wide enough that we could just paint them, spray paint them, and that would have been it. But
so let's say we decided that these spaces were worth grinding the center line now. And when you say it's a project, that means that it would have to be assembled with, the proper documentations to go to bid, right? And then by the time you do all that and do the work, then that's months away, right?
Unfortunately, yeah.
So
yeah, that's what I'm trying to explain to you, that we're
so that's
trying to move it as fast as we can. It became a project now.
Right. So so I'm just thinking about what you said, and so because it's months away, it's the seasonality of something being implemented makes it less valuable, possibly. Is that the case?
Now you're going into winter months. By the time
you
go out to bid, get them back, get the legislative approvals, get a contract. Again, it's the process. Yeah,
no, I agree with you. I'm just trying to assign some times in my mind to it, and it sounds like if we did pursue it full steam, it would be winter, like you said, before, and then I would think the benefit of it to some degree is less than it would be if it were the beginning of a warmer time of year.
And then my understanding is that the outdoor dining period ends October 15th. So the spaces on Washington Street would go back to normal 2-hour paid parking space.
Right, but that's neither here nor there, because if we add the spaces, we can add the spaces. We should add them.
Yep, that's the plan.
Unfortunate.
No,
It's unfortunate.
exactly
It
the plan.
feels like we're being sort of pushed to the back burner for something that could really get done if we wanted it to. All right.
Yeah, Mike.
Yeah.
I'd say, I've said it before. I've been following this project, this infrastructure project, for 4 years, asking, for parking there, and I have been told every year for the last 4 years that it'll happen next year. And as I always say, I know it's nobody intentionally trying to delay it, but it's very frustrating because if we had put in that parking 4 years ago, I mean, we're talking, each spot is worth $14 a day. It adds up over the months, and it's a lot of convenient parking.
Yep.
So, Catherine, is there, or you may not know this, but if you do, is there a dollar value for a DPW project that makes the process simpler? Like a certain amount and less makes it more, it makes it more doable on a quicker timeline? Or is it every project from DPW has to go through the same process?
In order to do any work on a right-of-way in a city property, there needs to be a contract.
No, I know. But let's say I don't know, sometimes there's like a $10,000 amount or less where the process to get something going is different than a project that's...
Oh, you mean from the purchasing guidelines?
Yes.
Yeah, yes. So if, I'm trying to remember, I think it's less than $10,000. The grinding of moving the center line is between $10,000 and $15,000, and to paint the parking spaces.
So, okay, so the value of this is somewhere around 15,000. We think.
Yeah, I don't know, but that's the range that we were looking at.
Yeah, and at 15, it's above the purchasing guidelines.
10.
Okay, so 10's the number.
10's the number. I was just giving you the range of what it could cost.
Yeah.
Right.
Eric, just based on some rough information I got today, in South Norwalk, the average street parking spaces is producing about $99 a week in revenue. So if we did 20 spaces, it's almost $2,000 a week in revenue based on the information I got. So, our payback on that is what, 10 weeks or something?
Yeah, but our problem now is, how do we come up with $15,000? Given where we are.
We could work that out within the striping contract. But it has to do with doing the actual work and having a contract to do that. It's a process.
Right, and that's why I'm asking about if there's a threshold where the process...
$10,000 is a threshold.
Right, but is there also, because of the threshold, is there a shorter process with a lesser dollar amount? Up to $10,000, is it the same process as a 10,000 plus project?
Well, now you're going into saying, okay, you want to hire, there is only one company in the state of Connecticut that does striping. They're Safety Markings. Literally, there's one. So now you're saying that, okay, let's just call them and say, can you fit us into this? That may or may not happen.
You mean
without a contract.
You mean fit us in financially?
Probably not.
No, what do you mean?
Because you're bidding this out in linear feet.
To one contractor.
There's only one contractor in the state of Connecticut that does striping.
It's the only one worth hiring. I know that from the
There isn't another one.
So again, my question, if it's 10,000 or less, in order to get to the table to sign a contract, is it a different process than if it's 10,000 or more?
If it's less, then you have to get 3 quotes or go through a process of sole source and get that approved by purchasing in the legal department in order to issue a purchase order.
And that's no quicker than the full-blown process. Okay.
It's just a different process.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there another way to do it since it's, well, I assume those, if we had those spaces, I assume they would be full, metered spots or managed spot, not 15-minute spots, right?
I think that's what you all talked about was that you would want to do a pay by sell. That's what you guys talked about.
Yeah.
Right. So we don't have to worry about hardware, basically.
No, we don't recommend that.
Right.
Yeah. If there's not room up to the center line, then there's really, until the center line moves, there's really not, and we can't put something out that doesn't meet safety standards.
Not on a city right away, no.
Right.
Is that a state road?
That's West Washington. I believe it's not.
Okay, good. That helps. Okay.
All right. I get. Anybody else have anything on this topic?
I think we should track the project, to Judd's point. If we could maybe in our regular meeting, Vanessa is going to continue to be part of our regular meetings, right?
Yes.
Maybe she could just tell us on a monthly basis where that project is.
I'll let her know. No problem.
See if that, it's unfortunate. All right. Just briefly, before we get to number 4, I saw the emails about the 4 spots that are being repurposed on Main Street, North Main. So sure, we have to discuss anything there. They're just taking them and they're going to put barriers around them and offer. I mean, Rocky has already put an order out to put the bags over the meters.
Yeah, that's already done. I saw him. I can see it from my office.
There you go, right across the street, right? But if there's a discussion there, I guess we should have it now. Does anybody have anything to?
No.
It wasn't really up to us. It was something that was done to us, not right.
Yeah, no. I think some of the only thing that I would say, because Rocky, when you did the calculations for the amended budget that we talked about, did you include the removal of the 27 spaces from Washington? Our amended budget includes that reduction of spots, right?
Eric, when we prepared the reforecast, we did not include the 28 spaces as lost revenue for July and for June and July. For June, it was because we were not charging, but for May it was, but for June and July, August, September, it was not factored in.
So I think we should do that. Well, I think we should factor that in. And because we set a percentage of usage, of 25%, but it seems like that the 4 spaces on North Main and the Washington Street spaces is another factor that, well, maybe, I mean, I don't know. I'm really sort of asking.
So Eric, I understand when you did the revised budget,
yeah.
The outdoor dining was not an issue at that point. That
Right.
came later from the city, which is a good thing.
Right.
But as far as the activity goes on street now throughout the entire system, you're at 56%. Your original forecast or that you were looking at was 25%.
Right.
So you're at 56% as the beginning of July. And at the end of June on street, you're at 58%.
Okay, so that's all good news. Then maybe it's just a footnote on the whole thing that says, with the elimination of regular or conversion of regular parking into, outdoor dining, these
And
are
curbside.
these are still our numbers, which are better. They're outperforming what we projected. Okay.
Right. So again, the other, even though just to keep in mind, from a behavior point of view, people that maybe were parking in those 28 spaces on a regular basis, they're going somewhere else.
Right. Right. Okay. All right.
And just remember that on the other side, it's curbside pickup. They're 15-minute free parking.
Yeah.
So.
By the way, on that point, I had sent a memo to the mayor, and I think the number, Kathy, was something like $52,000 is the value.
50 for the lost revenue. Yep.
Yeah, so the revenue we lose between now and the middle of October, is it the middle of October?
Mm-hmm.
Was 52,000. And I asked if we could go to the state or the federal government for a reimbursement of that lost revenue. I don't think that's going to happen, but that's just if you're looking for the number, what the impact was on us in the budget for the new fiscal year. It was $52,000 less.
Well, actually, that brings up a point. If the same setup happens next year, then that becomes a budget item,
Right?
Element that we have to factor in.
Right, and then you'll have to think about what you bring up, Eric, managed parking where people are then parking elsewhere, and how you manage that.
Right, right. Okay.
We should probably then do the same thing for the 4 spaces that they're taking this week.
Yes.
With a note to the mayor about.
I'm assuming they're the same dates too. Is it through the middle of October?
Right now, yes, yes.
Yeah.
So can you put that number together for me for those 4 spots as well?
I think, didn't we just, that was like what was it, Rocky? Like $1,200 or something for the?
Yeah, 1220.
Yeah, through October 15th, it's like $1,200 for those 4 spaces.
Kat, that's 1220 per month.
Oh, that's 1,200 per month?
Yes.
So July, August, September. Okay. Well,
Yep.
so, all right. I guess I only saw part of it. So say,
That's about $4,000.
yeah. Yeah.
To the
It's,
October.
yeah, 1,200.
It's
times
eight.
4.
Oh,
It's $4,200
Okay.
plus the 50. So that's 54,200 total potential revenue loss for the outdoor dining curbside pickup.
but we got to look at. I mean, I know it's a hit to us, but what it does for the business there. I mean,
Oh, it's awesome.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, it's just a matter of record, really. That and Catherine and I will do this offline, maybe tomorrow or when she has a chance. We'll put the same style note together that Dick did, and we'll just get it to the mayor to keep him informed of the fact that we are
Right, but again, think about it. Where
managing these losses.
Oh, I'm sorry. Think about where people will be parking elsewhere.
Right, they do. They are parking elsewhere.
So.
True. Okay. Anything else on this? The next topic is the new sales tax implemented. Why does this say state of CT new sales tax implemented January 2020? Oh, yeah, on certain parking permit sales. I had this put back on the agenda. I had a conversation with the mayor. He called me last week, last Friday. And although he and everyone, I think, agrees on doing this, he felt it was terrible timing and wanted to ask me to bring it back up as a discussion to talk about possibly pushing it to January 1st. Now, since then, I had a longer conversation with Catherine about it, and she explained to me the fact that it really is essentially just to the permit parkers or the commuters, as it were. but I felt like we needed to talk about it anyway, because we need the words to talk about it outside this meeting when somebody else asks us. And I wasn't clear about exactly what this did. And also, of course, if we want to, we can push it to January 1st. We would just have to, well, that would be an agenda item for next week and we'd have to vote on it. But let's discuss. Shall anybody have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I do.
Yes, sir.
The mayor's request that the parking authority explain the reasoning behind the decision to restart parking fees and to discontinue absorbing the state enforced tax is reasonable. Let me try to put it in perspective from my point of view, because I was up to my ears in it as it was going on.
Mm-hmm.
And in order to give a full picture, I have to go back to December of 2019. In that month, I met with both the mayor and with Henry Dashowitz separately to explain that the authority, as part of its new strategic plan, was considering options for investing some of the fund balance that we had for worthy projects to benefit the city. The fund balance, as I explained, is similar to the city's rainy day fund. And we have built the fund to almost $3 million, which is 1.2 million over the financially recommended amount of 1.8 million that we should have.
Right.
I explained to both the mayor and to Mr. Dashowitz that the projects that the parking authority was considering as part of our strategic plan were possibly a circulator, coordinating with the transit district to move people to and from Sono and Wall Street and West Avenue and East Norwalk. We were exploring options for a pathway from Yankee Doodle Garage to Wall Street, and for beautifying a pathway from the Webster lot to Sono. There were other objects that I'm sure would be recommended by the mayor and the public, but those were just 3 examples of what we had in our strategic plan. I told the mayor that we would mention this plan that we had when we had the pre-meetings with the BET and the Common Council for the next fiscal year. Mayor Redding thought it was a good idea. Then came the pandemic. All plans went out the window, as we all know. We were all part of them, and the budget was turned upside down. In collaboration with the mayor's office and economic development, the parking authority did everything we could to think of to ease the financial burden that would fall on local businesses and residents. In addition to that, last week in March, the NPA on its own suspended all parking fees on street, in lots, and garages for the month of April and May, resulting in, obviously, a major shortfall in revenue. At the time, I told the mayor that we were still considering the month of June. Remember, we're back in April and May now. And we had started a study of how we might rebound in sync with the city and the state if the state encouraged careful reopening. By the time we started to reevaluate June, we had learned the lesson that we all already knew. And that is, free parking is not without a high cost. All through April and May, the prime parking locations on Washington Street and Main were filled with cars from residents who, in lockdown, left their automobiles there for days and sometimes weeks at a time, creating chaos when the parking authority was trying to encourage pickup at area restaurants. With that in mind, the Parking Authority then evaluated a study done by Eric and Judd on how to gradually return to enforced parking limits. While we had bumps in the road with the June rollout, we finally agreed to start in June on a date set by the governor for the next phase of rollout. It should be noted here that the Parking Authority had willingly sacrificed a full quarter of planned revenue to help this issue. The result, a major hit on that rainy day fund and the reserve and what we had hoped to apply those dollars for in the projects that I mentioned earlier. Our move to cease paying state tax on parking was done to protect what we could of that fund balance. We had whatever fund balance we had left, reducing the new fiscal budget, the July through June budget, by $182,000 in costs. It was clearly not a move to make money, as was suggested in the hour. The cost of the NPA for the March-June hiatus and paid parking was about $1.8 million. The hour described our actions as unrelated to the economic effects of COVID-19, and I'm not sure where that quote came from. It didn't come from me. Our actions were and are all related to the major impact of the virus. We continue to do what we can to assist this recovery and to try to protect what we can in the emergency fund so as not to be a burden on the city's budget or the taxpayers. The mayor had suggested that we should be held accountable and explain the reasoning, and I hope that this does too. I did explain to the mayor what we all know, is that the Parking Authority is made up of 5 citizens who are volunteering their time, and a lot of time, to do the management of parking and to help the city along. And that the 5 are 3 local businessmen, a lawyer, and a retired executive. So I wanted to have that put into our minutes so that it explains from my point of view what we all went through from December of last year until today. Obviously, if you want to add anything or challenge anything in that too can be added into the minutes.
I don't see anything to challenge. I think it's an accurate portrayal of what transpired and how we handled it. I think it also makes a good explanation of why we should not continue to absorb the sales tax. And if someone, if there's a desire to not have the sales tax, it's not an issue with Norwalk, it's an issue with Hartford. And so, I think that's part of what should be communicated. If someone has questions about why it's happening, then the short answer is, to ask Hartford. I think it's absurd. I think it's a ridiculous tax, but it's not a Norwalk matter.
Remember that the Board of Estimate and Taxation had recommended that we do this, which is why when Kathy and I came back to the Parking Authority and recommended we do it, they said this is particularly in the times that we're in with the impact on the revenue, this is not going to be sustainable. And they knew that we were cutting into our reserve fund, our fund balance. When we voted to do that, I got a memo from Mr. Dashowitz and Catherine, I think, did too, thanking us for doing that and saying they did the right thing. The other thing I think, and Mike, and this went to you being uncomfortable about giving tickets out and what have you. And Stathis or Rocky can talk to this better than I can probably. And that is, in order for us to manage parking, there has to be some sort of enforcement. And if we don't have enforcement, we're going to wind up back where we wound up before, with a lot of free parking and important spaces being taken, and our inability to manage that and make the parking available to other people who might be coming in. So enforcement, to my knowledge, is the only way to help manage.
Right, but we chose our enforcement with the courtesy tickets and the presence of these constables being out there, helping, walking around, everything. I was surprised to hear that we had begun giving tickets. It is what it is, I guess, but I thought we had chose a softer way, for instance, but it doesn't matter. So let's get back to this. What is the difference? I guess Kathy stepped away, but the difference between leaving the tax situation the way it is right now, or pushing this tax decision to January 1st, which is 6 months from now, financially, what does that look like? If it's only the commuters.
So right now, all the tax, and Stathi can explain a little more exactly what's going on. In January, the state of Connecticut imposed additional taxes on the sales of at the two railroad stations, as well as meters and transient parking. We were already passing on the tax to permit holders, like every other municipality. The parking authority had decided to then suspend it, like Dick said, starting January, and absorb the tax for the commuters and the meters and the transient.
Which we did, right.
Okay, so now starting July, the only tax that is being passed on for the permits. Seth, if you want to unmute yourself and explain how the other is being dealt with. The meters and the transit is just typically through the fee, because obviously someone who's paying 25 cents an hour or 50 cents an hour, you're not going to say, oh, plus 6.35% tax.
Right.
But go ahead, Steph.
Right. So, with the approval of passing on the sales tax, it's really only effective for the railroad station.
Right.
Because transient parking and in the facilities, the off street and on street, there is no mechanism to really add the sales tax to the fee.
Right.
It's built into the fee. So even though you've approved it effectively, it's really only the permit holders at those commuter facilities that are really getting that charged. So the only way to really do what you want is to change your rate structure on street and in the lots, which requires a process for you of approval and public notice and all that. So we're not really doing that. So if that makes you feel any better, then it's not impacting those parkers. It's really only the permit parkers at the railroad stations, which are mainly commuters and, many from out of town.
Right. No, I totally understand that. What I'm not hearing is how much it's going to cost us or how much it's going to save us between now and January 1st if we make a different decision.
It's not going to save us any money if we make the decision to absorb. It will add to our cost line.
Right.
And I think what we're trying to do here is to protect what we can of that fund balance. You don't make up the money that we lost in the last quarter of this year, which is impacting on this quarter. You are not going to make up that whatever it's going to be, $2-something million, unless you have some reductions in some costs, or we're going to just dissipate the entire fund balance. And I don't think we want to do that. I think we're trying to protect whatever we can of the fund balance. I don't think we can do the things that I had described earlier that we had put down in our strategic plan, because that money is just not going to be available. But we certainly can plan, because it is part of a strategic plan, we certainly can plan to do that in the future. But right now, I think it would be a big mistake to change what we've already started.
Yes, it would be very odd to do that too. But I guess nobody has that number, right? Fourth time I've asked. Four times I've asked. I want the number.
$182,000.
From now until January for the permit parkers.
From now until January? So if you divide that up, 182 divided by 12, right?
Yes.
So let's see.
91,000.
Right. So all I wanted to do from the very beginning is here $91,000.
6 months is $91,000.
And whether or not we would be willing to either absorb that or leave it with the people.
And that's just on, Mike, that's just on the new taxes, right?
Right.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Not all of the other ones that you've been passing on for the last 20 years.
Listen, I'm not the bad guy here. I got quite an earful from the mayor and a few other people, and I told them I would bring it up in a conversation in this meeting. And I think the conversation that we had was only worth the last 30 seconds, because all I wanted was that number. I want everybody to know that number, to be able to talk about it intelligently, and be able to say, this is what we've done and this is why we've done it. So that's all. Obviously, this is not a voting meeting. I'm not trying to change anything or make any difference here in this. We just needed the information.
And the final question is, are we going to do it now, or are we going to put it off till January or some month in between? Is that correct?
Like I said,
we already voted to do it.
Like I said, yeah, it's not a voting meeting, Judd, so I can't.
Right.
I can't ask for a motion in this meeting to do anything different. It's just right. What it is. I wanted the information. That's all.
Yeah, no, what the mayor asked Mike for was, would we change our mind with regards to the last half of this year regarding the state tax? Is that right, Mike? And Mike wanted to put a number to that.
Well, he wasn't asking when he talked to me.
But he was telling.
Yeah.
Well, the problem with that, Mike, as you know, you've been on the parking authority longer than I have.
Sure.
But the problem with that is that the mayor does not manage the parking.
Right.
He does a great job as being a mayor, in my point of view, and he's done a wonderful job in protecting the health of the people of Norwalk.
Yes.
But I think he was off base here when he charged the parking authority with trying to make money. We don't make money because of the state tax. That money goes right to the state, whether we pay it or the citizens pay it. We're not making money, we're trying to save money.
Speaking of money, my 2 cents is my non-vote, I guess, since we can't vote today, is that this not show up on the agenda for the next meeting.
I would agree with that.
I would agree with that as well. I don't think there needs to be a vote here. We just need to, I just needed to be able to tell the mayor exactly what we did here today. So.
Okay.
You did the right thing, Mike.
All right. So the next parking meeting is July 22nd at 6 p.m. Right now, today, it's at the Yankee Doodle Garage. Between now and then, you will get updated on that. If for some reason the mayor comes back and asks us not to, which I've given them the option of, or we can't come up with a satisfactory plan to put the 7 of us, eight of us in the room. But as of now, we're going to do a face-to-face meeting in the. I guess Dick, you're still away. We can conference you in.
Yeah, I'll conference in. Yeah.
Yeah.
We can't do it on the top deck of the garage up there.
I can do it from the top deck.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Man,
Dick can.
I can even do it down from the beach if you want me to. Or in Tom's case, I can go to the golf course.
Well, bank house is open too.
Tom, I will give you one motion if you'd like.
I move we adjourn.
Do I have a second for that?
I'll second it.
So passed. Disagreements? Yes. All right. Thank you all.
Bye, everyone.
Have a good
See you in a
night.
couple weeks.
Bye-bye.
Have a nice evening.
All right.
Bye.
Good night.